Guys, so we've confirmed that we are successfully sending our parameters right here, our query, to the backend with our geo information. So now what we want to do is, if you remember, we have this database here, and if we go to look at it, we have this collection of restaurants with 25,000. So we have this data here, and we're getting our parameters to our query parameters to our server. We need to first put them into a form that we can use to search this database and then return these results. And if you notice our collection of restaurants here, we have a lowercase plural naming. And if you go in, notice some of these values here. I just want to point that out. So anyway, what we're going to need to do is install the npm module to help us better interface with Mongo, and it's going to be called Mongoose, and what it is an ORM, an object relational mapper, I think. But basically, we don't want to interface directly with the database. We use basically a layer between that helps map objects to data objects. It's not as needed, I think, for Mongo, but like especially if you do some SQL, it will come from like Postgres, MySQL, any SQL, you'd usually work with an ORM. Otherwise, it's very complicated. Anyway, so let's jump back to our server. And what we're going to do is install Mongoose. So npm install Mongoose. And if you check back to our restaurant, the MongoDB manual, they have here, they say db.restaurants.find1. So that's what we want to do. We basically just want to return one to make sure it's working, and then we're going to get to our querying by parameters and stuff. Okay. So we're going to need to make a models directory. So just do mkdir. Oops. Let me open a new tab real quick. Okay, so we're going to make a models directory, then cd into that. We're going to create an index.js and a restaurant.js. And go to your models. And we have to use, well, actually, I'm not positive, but I think we might have to use like the old imports, not like the ES6 one. So I'm going to do just to be safe. So I'm going to say var restaurant equals require our local restaurants file. And then here we're going to say module.exports and just give it a key. And what this is going to allow us to do is import these models into our route directories and just kind of save us some typing later on, especially if we have 2 or 3 models, but for now we only have 1. Then here we're going to say var, we're going to import Mongoose. And so this has to be exported like this, restaurants, like that, capital, and that's basically but by convention going to map to that restaurant's schema. And then here, this is going to be our restaurant schema. And then we can say var restaurant schema equals new mongoose.schema. And so easy part is we're going to have a name, which is just going to be a string. And we know that because if we go back to our database, we have name, then we have this location with these coordinates, which is going to be a little more difficult. So I think this Stack Overflow has the location index. I'm going to give this a try, but so we're using Mongoose and the docs. They're doing these right in the shell, so that's why we have a little extra work to kind of try to figure out what to do. But let's give this a try. So location index type index. So the only thing weird is they call it coordinates. So I don't know if we need to give a like coordinate. You see how our database here we have location, then coordinates. So, and then type point. So, I'd say there's a 95% chance I'll have to pause this at some point and troubleshoot. Because basically what we're trying to do is there's all sorts of querying, right? So everything is spherical in the world, but Mongo has this custom like 2D sphere query where they're basically making up a shape. You can use that to query, but they have other types of queries where you can just do distance and stuff, so you have to make sure we're doing the right one. So I'll probably have to pause and troubleshoot a little. But for now, let's go back to here. There's these indexes. So I just made one before to test. But if you look at the documentation of the restaurant guide, they tell you here, because this is geographic, we'll create a 2D sphere index on each collection using the Mongo shell. So if we take this restaurants one here, and this location 2D sphere, and basically this index is going to help us search, is the easiest way to explain it. And you go to your restaurant collection in MLab, so go to collections, restaurants, go to indexes and say add index, and you're going to do that right here. And notice we need to put strings around this part. And I'll just say geo, and let's create that. And let's jump back to our documentation, our server. And like I said, I don't think this is going to be right. It seems off to me, but for now, let's just leave it, and let's get prepared for a way to actually search with this. So let's go to our index, our API, and for now, we're just going to use this resource one that we were already logging in. And what I want to do is require these models. Let's say const models equals // models, and so we want to basically say models dot rec dot params. So we probably want to like whitelist these, but so I'm going to say if models, say const model equals models subrec dot params. And remember, so our index.js, we have this restaurant. I think we're hitting the restaurant's endpoint, so I'm just going to say that for now. Or we should adjust our call to singular. So let me just fix that. Yelp. 1, 2. Yes, now we're at restaurant. And this is another file I was looking at, but I think I have the same issue. This is an older Mongo one with the 2D sphere versus 2D issue, so we're going to just have to kind of plot our way through it. But anyway, let's just see if our model's even set up. So let's come back to restaurant. And so we're going to say if model is null, all right, and we'll return. And then, so for now, we just have this one. So I'm just going to basically, actually, no, this is whitelisting it for. But for now, we're only having this one model, so that to work with. So let's just say model dot find one. Let's just see. Well, let's check the Mongoose documentation. That's it might just be find. And we'll pass in no query params function, and then always let's error restaurant, or we'll call it model, or I'm gonna call it restaurant for now. We're gonna say console log if error, log the error. Else, let's log the restaurant. And let's jump to, oh, sorry, these are our consoles right here. Models, so it's saying I have a typo here. Oh, here we go. I have to require. Sorry. For some reason it doesn't like this. I'm going to just require the exact file for now. So I'm going to say // models / restaurant JS. So for now, we didn't even need to use that index, but I'm just doing this for now. Oh. Nope, just some rogue thing down there. So after all that. Alright, so we're up and running again, and let's see what... Okay, look, so find one returned us this restaurant here, right? So our actual Mongoose setup is working, and being it's working and it was just that rogue, whatever that's causing us issues, I'm going to go back to our more generic one now that I found the issue. And okay, this guy right here. Alright. And I wonder if this find one is completely random or just keeps returning the first one. So I'm going to drag it again. And models subrect.params. So it doesn't really like something. Restaurant. Could be the restaurants. Alright, I'm going to just, for some reason this is giving me issues. I'm just going to go back to our explicit until we figure this out at a later point. It's not really, this isn't really a back-end course, so comment this out. So basically right now we're only working with the restaurant, so we lose this kind of more generic. Okay, so we got another Wilkins Fine Foods. So it's just returning the one restaurant, so we know it's working, and that's getting it from the database. So that's actually a good start. What I want to do now actually is return this to our app and handle that, handle this. So right, again, this is just a random point. I don't know where this is. Wilkins Fine Food. All right, we'll see in a second. So let's go back to our app here. We're gonna fetch, and we're gonna say then response. Again, I hate to always complain about fetch. For some reason, I hate this. Return response dot JSON. Then response JSON. I'm going to log the response. And we're going to set state. And well, first I'm just going to log the response. And basically we're going to set the local state to this new restaurant we're getting. And we want to handle our errors. Okay, and if we go back to our server now, we need to actually pass this along. So here in our callback, where we say console.log restaurant, we actually want to do this. Confirmation. We're going to say data is going to be this restaurant. We're going to return. And then here we want to do this, handle our errors. Ignore my awful spacing here. And let's see if that works. So we want to inspect and see if we're getting our response back in our console. So far, no. Let's reload. What's this error? Okay, confirmation success. Data. Look, we have location and a name, right? So I'm gonna take this data attribute and set our state with it. And we just want to make sure, like here we have coordinate lat long. If we go back here, it's coordinates is an array, so it's close. So we want to kind of make sure that sorry, we make sure that our data matches this. We need this format here. Just gonna grab it. So data.location and data.name. So we need to massage the attributes so they kind of match here. So before we set state, we're going to say const myloc equals. Actually, we're going to be doing this like a million times because soon we're going to have 100 locations. So let's just say. Well, we'll just do it locally for now, but that's gonna have to move to another function later. But let's just for now say const loc equals, and let's see what we want. We want coordinates title, coordinates title, and then so if I paste this, what we're working with here. Oh, whoops, that's hard to see. So it's going to be data.location. Well, it's going to be a little more tricky because it's this array, right? So what we want to do is I'm going to drag this over here so we can see it. So our format has to be this. Okay. Oh, wait. Coordinate, lat, longitude. Okay, title, description. Okay, so this is going to be response JSON dot location. Sorry, guys. Dot coordinate with an S sub 0. And I'll do the same here. This is going to be the first, or maybe this is supposed to be 1. See, it's very confusing. And this is going to be 0. And then title, description, I'm just going to leave blank. And then our title is going to be this response JSON dot name. And you know what? We should be saying dot. We probably should have used a variable because look at we have like now we're referencing this like 5 times. But let's just do this for now. And then I want to set state. I'm going to say I'll add it to our queue of other stuff actually for now. I'm going to say let new lokes or new markers and then I'm going to set state here. I'm going to say markers.push. Whoops. New markers.push this new loc. And here we're going to set state and say markers is going to be new markers. And I just want to log this loc before as well, just to make sure it's what we want. Alright, let's give this a refresh and see if it works. Also, I should look where this farm is. Oh, loc is not defined. Const loc. Oh, so we need to get all this into our response block, right? Okay, let's give that another try. There's no error, which is good, but I don't see this place. But New York is a big city, so we don't exactly know where. Well, one, we don't know if we're doing it right, but let me Google. Was it Wilkins Farm? Wilkins Farm, NYC. Wilkins Fine Food. Okay, it's all the way down here, but I don't think we're getting it, to be honest. Oh, it's right here. Cool. See right there? So, alright, cool. So, yeah, that's working. So, basically, we're fetching this from our server. Now, what we want to do is we're fetching one random location from our database. What we want to do next, in the next part, is basically every time we drag, we're doing the exact same step, except instead of this one random one, it's going to be queried by our location. So that's going to be the next step. But yeah, this is pretty good. So we're basically fetching this from the database and rendering it on